As we all in our human journey project into a future out of the desire to have psychic safety and a sense of comfort and a sense of control, we may not realize the extent to which we are referencing our past as the source material for our future. We forgot that we are the creators in the first place. So we have been conditioned to think that we're very powerless in the face of all of these external, dangerous and risky circumstances. And what I would say is that if you can switch over to this different kind of operating system and embodiment now, you are placing yourself in really good stead to navigate a future that is your own creation, informed by your own multidimensional higher self complex, rather than the alternative is to be on that kind of choppy waters and boat that is kind of the sinking ship of the current reality constructs. It's not your money, it's not your house, it's not your job, it's not your relationships that give you a sense of psychic safety. It's the safety that you have assigned to them that does it. So that's really good news, because you can cut out the middleman and recognize that you are capable of giving yourself your own psychic safety, your own sense of inner comfort, irregardless of anything external to you. So I chose the stairs very specifically and symbolically for this episode. When we are down at the bottom of the stairs, our view is not nearly as comprehensive as when we go and climb the ladder. And it's the same for our multidimensional codex. The greater part of our codex has a much more comprehensive view and can coordinate a restructuring of our reality in ways that I'm not sure I even fully comprehend.
Welcome to this safe space in which we're exploring the frontiers of human evolution through our own multidimensionality.
Hello and welcome back to Beyond Conscious Becoming Multidimensional. I'm Aisha Love, your host and the founder of Multidimensional You. So in this next episode, the download that wants to be remembered at this time is that our future is not the past. So I'll go ahead and read the early morning download. You can't fully see your future because this is a part of your being that you have not reconstituted yet. You have glimpses, whispers, and notions that are finding their way to you, but they get lost in the sea of mental confusion. The confusion exists because you are attempting to place it in the context of your older constructs, rather than within the fully reconstituted self where they belong. The confusion exists because you are attempting to place them in the context of your older constructs, rather than within the fully reconstituted self where they belong. Allow yourself to remain in the void of not understanding in order to allow the egoic identity constructs of who you have been to remember full surrender. In time, meaning different vibrational coordinates, you will reconstitute the rest. So just let that sink in for a moment. As we all in our human journey project into a future out of the desire to have psychic safety and a sense of comfort and a sense of control, we may not realize the extent to which we are referencing our past as the source material for our future. And so the point of this podcast is human evolution based in our full potential of what our incredible innate divine templates have within them that we have barely in some way scratched the surface of. So we're talking about advanced human capabilities, the kind that many masters have come and demonstrated and encouraged us and inspired us to go for, but largely the collective culture and the collectively created constructs teach the opposite, right? They teach a lot of lack and limitation. And so what we're doing here in this podcast is taking kind of a scientific-minded, but also much more of a lighthearted, explore, adventure, curious child, like the curious child approach to what might we be capable of if we started to question the assumption that we're inherently limited. And so here are all the answers. And these, again, are these incredible wisdom teachings that I received, remembered, that we're all ready to remember, otherwise they wouldn't really be coming through at this time. So when we move into this embodiment shift of what I've been applying and working to integrate over the last couple of years since I received these downloads, it's really about letting go of who we've been in order to become who we might be, or who we intended to be, or the next evolution of who we could be. But in order to do that, we can't reference lateral material, meaning what we have been, what we have done. If we allow that to define what we could be and to define the future, right, in these linear timelines that we're on, we won't really be creating anything truly new. And so there's this opportunity to really surrender who we have been into the void of the no thing, the void, the non-understanding, the I don't know, surprise me, in order to allow a completely different version of ourselves to come forward. And so out of that sense of wanting psychic safety, a sense of reassurance of, okay, well, I'll quit this job as long as I know what my next job is and what my next step is. I'll leave this relationship if I feel like I, know kind of what's next. I'll stop doing this, or I'll say yes to that because, we're very conditional in the ways that we are able to make change, that we've been encouraged and programmed in our culture to make change, right? Very risk averse because we forgot that we are the creators in the first place. So we have been conditioned to think that we're very powerless in the face of all of these external, dangerous and risky circumstances. And what I would say is that if you can switch over to this different kind of operating system and embodiment now, you are placing yourself in really good stead to navigate a future that is your own creation, informed by your own multidimensional higher self complex, rather than the alternative is to be on that kind of choppy waters and boat that is kind of the sinking ship of the current reality constructs. And that may seem somewhat dramatic, but I don't think so. Not after everything we've lived through over the last couple of years. I think most people are well aware by now that this chaos isn't going to somehow just sunset and we're all going to go back to normal, whatever that, means in the first place. And normal, really, when we're reaching for that, what I'm being shown now is it's like it's a security blanket. So when you think about it, the child who has a security blanket or a stuffed animal, that item doesn't have inherent value as something that keeps them safe. It is the psychic sense of safety that they have attached to that item, that they have associated with that gives them security. So follow the metaphor. It's not your money, it's not your house, it's not your job, it's not your relationships that give you a sense of psychic safety. It's the safety that you have assigned to them that does it. So that's really good news because you can cut out the middleman and recognize that you are capable of giving yourself your own psychic safety, your own sense of inner comfort, irregardless of anything external to you. Seems like a really good time. I'm being given the green light to do this, to introduce a download I just received on a trip in September over the fall equinox. I was shown very clearly that all that you see here in manifest reality at its base level is a symbol. It is a symbolic representation of an idea, of a concept. So remember, the primary principle of creation is contemplation. It is the thought form. So this isn't illogical. There is a logic to this. So if you understand that perhaps you assigned safety to the job or the relationship or the house or what have you, that was only ever a symbolic representation of safety that you created a container for that safety. And I know people are in their minds are going to be like, wait a minute though, like a job pays the bills, and how do you pay the bills if you don't have a job, right? You can get it down in the descension spiral of, kind of freak out fear thinking. But if you just keep an open-minded heart and go with me on this, Really feel into that. Because the truth is, a job can disappear at any moment. It's not like we actually have total control over that. That's all an illusion as well. And so if your higher self says, okay, that's enough of that, time to move on and grow and evolve, your job's going to go, whether you want that or not, right? So I think by now you're understanding that this podcast is all about how to navigate the edges of our own growth and evolution and expansion so that we can ease into a different embodiment and emanation. And I won't lie, there are parts of it that are incredibly difficult, challenging, mentally, terrifying, but only to the extent that we are running the programs that we were conditioned with that terrify us. And you gain more and more self-awareness about those programs, and then you come out of that contrast and recognize, wow, that is a state of lockdown. That is a state of imprisonment. That is not self-empowerment. That is not self-sovereignty, right? So let's go back, being drawn back. So any of those objects or situations, relationships that you have assigned, this makes me safe, take a moment to go through them. Maybe use a scale, 1 to 10, 10 being like absolute best, wonderful, wouldn't change a thing, 1 being like, whoa, I should have left this yesterday. You can start to go through them and rate them and see where you are. And no judgment, just kind of curiosity. What am I involved in? Is my job a 4? Well, what the heck am I doing there? Is my relationship a 7? Okay, well, maybe we could work within that and move that. You see where I'm going with this? So you just take a moment to take some inventory. Just take stock. All these things that you don't want to change because you have assigned them as your bringers of comfort. Knowing that they are only symbolic representations. And what if you allowed yourself to release that which you've been involved in your past, including, most important, your own identity constructs. So I am, maybe you're a lawyer, I'm a therapist, maybe you're a doctor, maybe you're a teacher, maybe whatever, fill in the blank. Maybe it's not even a profession that you identify with. I'm a creative, I'm a, anything that you assign identity to, it's time to really pull that out and take inventory. And how does that make you feel? And then I'm being shown, excavate a little bit and look behind the scenes of why, if it makes you feel good. If it doesn't make you feel good, we know what to do there. We can go ahead and drop the identity value, right? Don't even need to identify that way anymore. If it does feel good, go a little deeper and ask yourself what about it makes you feel good. Is it that it gives you status in society? Is it that other people think highly of you, especially your family? And really go through that honestly as well. We'll just take a moment to do it now. Really feel into that. I've been through a huge questioning myself. Do I even want to continue with what I've been doing over the last few years? Letting it all go for a while, and then do I pick it back up? And how do I pick it back up? And then, now that you kind of run through all those inventories, you felt into, maybe you're in the moment of oh, I wish I hadn't seen that. I really don't want to look at that. Take a look at that fear, bring that fear up. What is that fear? That's all that resistance to change. Again, based in the safety that you assign to what is ultimately simply a symbolic representation of that which gives you safety. Where are we going with this? Ultimately, we are incredible creators. We have incredible manifestation potential, but we are bottlenecking. We have been trained to bottleneck ourselves into very limited and maybe not super aligned for us forms of safety that we are settling for. And those creations and those things that we're settling for may be culturally sanctioned and approved, but we could be enjoying a much more aligned, expansive set of conditions. So the last part of this short but incredibly profound download is that confusion exists because we're we're trying to understand a future by placing it in the context of the old constructs, rather than in the context of a fully reconstituted self, your self as source, where they belong. So when you're bottlenecked and settling and fragmented, semi-conscious, you can't understand just how good you could have it, because those distortions are inherently limiting. So the way to get to that fully reconstituted self, paradoxically, is to completely surrender all that you have been. And I can hear in the field, some folks balking at the suggestion, like, well, you just can't just like drop everything. Actually, you can. That is a choice. That is an option. I recognize it may not be the best option for everyone, but at some point your higher self will bring you these opportunities if you surrender to them and move out of resistance in longer and longer durations. At least that's been my direct experience. I've been able to enjoy a big, long 7-8 month break, if you will, or retreat or surrender to what I had been doing, to the identity constructs I did identify with. For the second year in a row. The first one was 6 months. A few years ago before that, it was 3 months. Spirit guide humor. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. And many years ago, after my own health issues, I was very intentional about making a decision to do things going forward the easy way, meaning I would not get into a lot of resistance about what I was being asked to do, even if it seemed illogical, even if, it's like, well, I don't know where that money's going to come from. And then, wow, support showed up. So just to elaborate on that final sentence, in time, which is different vibrational coordinates, you will reconstitute the rest. So let's unpack this concept. Teleportation works because you are at this set of vibrational coordinates and you're able to hold a different set of vibrational coordinates and simply allow your form to go from existing here to there, right? There's no travel in the way we think about it mechanically or in our linear time. So the same works for our own recreation of self and our reclamation of ourselves as source. And some people refer to as jumping timelines. It's much more, in my estimation and my direct experience, not so much about trying to get somewhere as it is about releasing everything you have been, everything that you're attached to, and allowing yourself to surrender in a way that you trust yourself into this space of the void, of the no thing, of the I don't know and I don't need to know because my greater field has got it. It has a vast intelligence. As a vast multidimensional being and it's part of a nested set of divine architecture and collectives, I prefer to turn over the template activation, if you will, a set of blueprints that then emanate a new reality. So essentially what you're doing is collapsing the mold of who you were and how you created a reality using your plasmic field of consciousness. And then when it's time, in divine right timing, your new emanation will simply come to be. So in order to be able to shift your vibrational coordinates, you'll be releasing a lot of the ways that you showed up in the reality. So all the basics of mindfulness, the breath work, becoming much more conscious, applying your free will choice to what you choose to think and feel, allows you to shift your vibrational coordinates. And then your physical reality matches that. Now, the trick here, in my experience, is giving yourself enough breathing room from your normalized external influences that you have given your power to. And so this is why that inventory and then making aligned changes, even if you don't know what the next step, maybe especially if you don't know what the next step is especially important, because basically you're signaling to your higher self, to your soul, your oversoul collective, that you have remembered who you really are and that you trust yourself and you trust your greater self. And that's when miracles happen. They're not miracles, they're just simply the next emanation. They're based in a completely different foundation of trust and love, the expansive love that we are, the source material of the all that is. And they're not being bottlenecked, these creations and this emanations, not being bottlenecked by fear. So I chose the stairs very specifically and symbolically for this episode. When we are down at the bottom of the stairs, our view is not nearly as comprehensive as when we go and climb the ladder. And it's the same for our multidimensional codex. The greater part of our codex has a much more comprehensive view and can coordinate a restructuring of our reality in ways that I'm not sure I even fully comprehend. That's it for this episode. Sending you all so much love.